everyone, and welcome to a conversation with a Nobel Laureate in MSc AI for Materials Innovation. This is the third installment of the four-part outreach webinar series organized by the Department of Materials Science and Engineering at NUS. I am Richa, and I will be your host for today's session. Consistently ranked among the top globally by Times Higher Education and QS, MSc at NUS has made extensive contributions and breakthroughs in education, innovation, and research, clinching numerous awards both locally and globally. With cutting edge research in areas such as advanced manufacturing, bio inspired materials, edge computing, and computational material sciences, as well as world renowned faculty members such as Professor Sir Konstantin Novoselov, Professor Antonio Castroneto, and Professor John Wang, it is unsurprising that MSc at NUS is one of the leading MSc departments in Asia. Before we begin, let me briefly introduce to you the Outreach webinar series. As part of the MSc Roadshow, this four-part series is organized with the aim of raising awareness and showcasing the diverse roles and career opportunities available for MSc graduates. Over the past few weeks, several distinguished speakers from various fields have joined us to share about the career pathways that they have embarked on. This webinar will be split into two parts. The first will be the talk by invited speakers, including Professor Sir Konstantin Novoselov and Professor Daniel Blackwood. The second will be the Q&A session, where the panel of speakers will answer questions posed by members of the audience. Members of the audience may submit their questions in the webinar Q&A section at any time and indicate if you would like a specific speaker to answer your question. So to kick off today's webinar, let's please invite Prof. Daniel Blackwood, Deputy Head for Education and Student Affairs in MSc, to give his opening address. Prof. Blackwood, please.
Okay, thank you. I will share my screen. Okay, so welcome to the Department of Materials Science and Engineering. Okay, so why should you come to NUS? Right. Well, we're one of the top 10 universities in the world. Right? So we're the top one in Singapore. We're Singapore's flagship university. We're actually the only comprehensive university in Singapore. And the reason that's important is while you're here, you'll get to make friends from the Faculty of Law, the Faculty of Social Science and Arts. And this network that you will build up will stay with you throughout your rest of your life, because most of you will graduate and remain in Singapore. So having a very good network is just as important as actually having a good education. And the network is only really available at NUS. We've also got world-class facilities and laboratories. We're the home for 6 research centers of excellence, all funded by the National Research Foundation. We have strong partnerships with industry and government. And we don't just do top research, we also like to do innovation and enterprise. We have a number of places around the world that we've set up where we take ideas into production. And as far as employability, well, we're in the top 10 globally for employability, and our department, Materials Science and Engineering, is ranked top in Asia among employers. So if we're top in Asia, obviously we're also top in Singapore. Why engineering here? Again, the College of Engineering is in the top 10 in the world. We're actually 8th at the moment. We're the fusion of 2 top colleges, basically the Faculty of Engineering and School of Design and Environment to come together. That gives you a lot more flexibility in the modules that you will be able to take. And indeed, we have a very flexible curriculum now. When you join us, you'll find that all the engineers do virtually the same modules in their first 2 years. We like to have a lot of hands-on. It's not just theory. If you're going to do material science and engineering, it's not just learning facts and figures. You've got to get hands-on experience, how to actually use characterization machines like electron microscopes, etc. The faculty also has 13 world-leading research centers, and there's a wide variety of different programs here as well. So what about material science and engineering? What actually is it? Well, it says science in the title, right? So we're a combination of physics, chemistry, and biology. But then rather than just being pure science, we actually are applied as well. So we take our science ideas and actually do something useful with them. Right? That's why we're heavy in research in energy, new batteries, new solar cells. A lot of biomedical research actually comes out of material, much more out of materials than it does actually out of bioengineering. We work in soft robotics. If you want to give a robot the ability to pick something up, you need a material called an actuator, so that it can actually feel the sense of touch. And so why come to MSE at NUS? Well, we have a fairly small cohort each year, which means we've got an excellent student to staff ratio. Okay, and every student will be given a mentor. And that mentor will not only help you guide you through your academic career, he's someone you can turn to talk about life problems, okay? We know it's difficult when you're your age, and you quite often will come across problems and you need a friend to talk to. And that's the role of the mentor, not just academic. We also have a very good male to female ratio. So we're an attractive subject. We're not a hardcore civil engineering or something. Maybe I shouldn't say anything bad about civil engineering, but there we are. We're also the only place you can come and work with a Nobel Prize winner, which is obviously what today's talk is about. So I will leave that for later more. We have a very strong student club, so that there is a very friendly number of students who will introduce to their camps and their clubs. For some strange reason, we've produced 3 international bowlers in our department. I'm not quite sure yet what the link is between material science and engineering and being a top 10 pin bowler, but there seems to be some link. We have a lot of strong partnerships with research institutes, both A-star and within the university itself. And as I've already mentioned, there's good career possession. We are top in Asia among employers, which helps most of our students to get jobs. A little bit of history on the department. We started in 1991, way before most of you were born, as a material science and engineering program between the departments of chemistry and physics. So that shows our fundamental science background. And we became a fully fledged department in 1996, which was the year I arrived in Singapore. I dare say most of you weren't born then, which just makes me feel old. But in the year 2005, it was decided that we should take our science and do something more useful with it, make it more applied. So we moved over to the Faculty of Engineering. And in 2022, the Faculty of Engineering became the Design and Engineering, College of Design and Engineering. So what about our research? Well, we're very high in research. Every year, there's around 6,000 what they call highly cited researchers. That's the top 1,000 researchers in the world. And NUS has somewhere around 40 of those. So that's about 7%. But when you consider how many universities there are in the world, that probably 1,000 universities, so to have 7% of the top researchers at NUS is very good. And almost 10% of those, so actually 3 of them this year, are from MSE. And we're actually in a small department in the university. So we're among the top departments in the university for research. I've already mentioned that we have our Nobel Prize winner who's going to be talking later to you. To give you an idea how important the government thinks material science and engineering is, they've helped set up the world's first institute dedicated to functional intelligent materials. The government has invested 100 million and the universities have invested 100 million. So that's $200 million they've invested in developing new functional intelligent materials, which shows that both the university and the government believe materials are our future. When you're here, what will you study? Well, as well as the core modules, you also have the opportunity of doing one of our specializations. We have specializations in materials, renewable energy and sustainability. So that's things like batteries, solar cells, also how to get more water. Water is a big issue in Singapore, as you're probably aware. We don't have enough fresh water. We have specialization in nanostructured materials and nanotechnology. We have another one in robotics. The robotics one is we join together with the departments of mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and biomedical engineering to produce a robotics specialization. So if you take that specialization, you will not only take our modules, you'll take modules in those departments as well. We also have a specialization in the functional intelligent materials. That's really using AI, artificial intelligence, to design better materials. We'll teach you how you do that. Then we joined together with biomedical engineering to have a specialization in biomedical materials, where you will take some of our courses and some biomedical courses. And finally, we also have a specialization in microelectronics and quantum materials, where we join together with the Department of Electrical and Computing Engineering. You can see by the fact that we've joined together, but with so many other departments in our specialization, our materials actually underpins most of the other engineering departments. So we've also got good resources in the department. We've got a very good curriculum that won't only teach you about materials, but also taught you about innovation and entrepreneurship. We've got cutting edge research, energy materials, brain inspired computing. So you get to do a research project if you wish, that is. It's actually no longer compulsory, but most of our students do it. And we've also got very good contacts with industry and a good network of alumni. What can you do later? Well, the way that our curriculum now works is basically a common core, which all engineering students will take. And on top of that, you build your material science and engineering basic knowledge. And then on top of that, you can either put a specialization, or maybe two specializations, or specialization in a minor, or a specialization in a second major. So there's lots and lots of options. And these are just some of the potential career choices that you could end up with at the end of your bachelor's degree. Or you could build in your skill set. You could do a double degree. We have a double degree with business administration. We also have a degree, bachelor's in medicine, material science and engineering, and then you go on to do a doctor in medicine on a 7-year program with Duke NUS. Or you can do a double major, perhaps with innovation and design. Or we've just got one student who's just now doing a double major. He's doing a material science and engineering degree and an electrical and computing engineering degree. And then there's a huge choice of minors in NUS. Is one of the advantages of being a comprehensive university. You can do sort of engineering related ones like semiconductors and data engineering, but you could also do a minor in Japanese or arts or something like that to really broaden your horizons, wherever your interests take you. We also have some special programs, such as the Engineering Scholars Program, which is an accelerated program where the 4 years is condensed into 3 years, and then you will also do a master's within 1 year after that. This comes with tuition fees, subsidized living, and you get to stay on campus. And again, you'll have mentors. You also have priority if you get onto this Engineering Scholars Program on the Student Exchange Program and our overseas colleges. Even if you're not on the Engineering Scholars Program, you can still go on the Student Exchange Program. Almost half of our students actually go overseas at some point to further, well, not to further their studies, as part of our studies. We have partnerships with most global universities. We're the only university in Asia, I think it is, that has partnerships with both Oxford and Cambridge. You can go to Oxford or Cambridge and spend a whole year rather than just a single semester. We also have NUS overseas colleges where you actually will be able to go and work with a startup company. And in our department, we've now decided we're going to have our own MSE Study Award, where we will pay students up to 20,000 spread over the 4 years. So these will be for top students who haven't actually got scholarships elsewhere, because NUS only allows you to have one scholarship. And if you need to know more about this, you can contact us at the QR code that will be displayed at the end of the show. What about getting a job? Well, last time that there was a publication, 93% of our students did have employment within the first 6 months, and their salaries were mid-range. We're not the best paying course in engineering, but we're definitely not the worst. We're sort of midway in the salaries for engineering. And last year's salaries actually went up very well. The mean went up by nearly 13%, and the median went up by 15%. And it's about time, in my opinion. Engineers in Singapore have been underpaid. So this is a sign that they are starting to pay our engineers better in Singapore. Where will you work? Well, there's a whole range of different companies. There's the traditional sort of materials companies like Bosch, Applied Materials, or Lloyd's Registrar. But students also go into the health industry, like Bayer. They might even go into somewhere like SMRT in the logistics industry. A growing area is aviation, aerospace. Rolls-Royce and ST Aerospace are employing an increasing number of our students. They go off to the petrochemical industry, in the utilities. Some go off to the research institutes. So these are A-stars to do further research. A lot still get employed by companies like Micron. So the semiconductor industry is still a major employer in Singapore, but some of them actually go off to banking. So they leave engineering altogether, but they find that the analytical thinking skills they've learned while they were with us are very useful in banking and other business sectors. Okay, so this is just a reminder of our upcoming webinars. We're in the third one here, and we'll have one more on the 1st of March. So I hope to see you then, or perhaps bring some of your friends along. I will think that's my last slide. It is. So I will hand it back to our host. Stop share.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much, Prof. Blackwood, for sharing about our department and the opportunities that are available for students here. For our audience, do remember that you can put in your questions into the Q&A section, and they will be discussed towards the end of the webinar. In today's webinar, we are so honored to invite Professor Sir Konstantin Novoselov, who was awarded the Nobel Prize for Physics for groundbreaking experiments regarding the two-dimensional material graphene. He has published over 400 papers, with his Science 2004 publication taking a place in the top 100 most cited papers across all subjects. Every year since 2014, Prof. Novoselov has been included in the list of most cited researchers in the world. He joined NUS MSE in 2019 as Distinguished Professor, and in 2021 he was appointed the Director for the newly established Institute for Functional Intelligent Materials in Singapore. His research spans across condensed matter physics, mesoscopic transport, superconductivity and ferromagnetism, nanostructures and nanofabrication, graphene, and other two-dimensional crystals. In today's session, Prof. Novoselov will enlighten us on the future potential of 2D materials and the relevance of AI and machine learning tools in the development of new materials. Prof. Novoselov, please.
Good afternoon. If you allow me to share the screen. Can you see it? Hopefully, yes. So it's a great pleasure to talk to you today about our research. And as Dan already mentioned, the research in MSc covers a huge area of a really very broad area, from energy to composite materials to electronic materials to soft robotics and biomaterials. And that's probably really the advantage of being in the material science, because of course you have to be an expert in chemistry and in physics, but you see immediately the applications of your knowledge in real life. So for today's talk, let me try to discuss what do we do in our new institute, and what kind of new methodologies do we have to use to design the future materials. Still, it's quite a nice place to start is graphene, well, because it's, first of all, is the first two-dimensional one-atom thick material. These days we work with many of them, but graphene was the first, but also probably one of the most simple materials we ever created, because it's only carbon atoms. Carbon is one of the smallest atoms you can think about, and it is those carbon atoms arranged in a simple honeycomb lattice. And yet, despite but actually, this honeycomb lattice which gives many different interesting, unique properties to this material. I won't go into many details on why and how it works. It's actually very simple but very elegant and beautiful mathematics. I just give you one example, one slide, how unusual are the properties of graphene, and how unusual are the electronic properties graphene. So many of you, of course, I hope none of you, but experience this, but many of you would realize that in classical physics, if you run a car into a wall, you would crash it. So that's what your common wisdom would tell you. In quantum mechanics, in quantum world, we have this phenomena called quantum tunneling, which allows you to cross through a barrier with finite probability. So the probability is extremely small. So there is no chance, and you need coherence for between the states before the barrier and after. So it doesn't work for non-quantum objects, for non-entangled objects. So don't try it with your car, but it definitely works in the quantum world. And actually these days, this quantum tunneling of electrons through a barrier becomes one of the dominant source of leakage current and overheating in the modern transistors, because all the dimensions become so small and all the dielectrics become so thin. But still, it's considered to be quite a tough effect to observe, and you need to apply some special care. Now, for electrons in graphene, which behave as relativistic particles, actually the probability to go through a barrier is 100%. So that's how unconventional and surprising are the effects which we observe in this material. And then it has many other unique properties. It's the strongest, the most flexible, thinnest, transparent, thermally conductive, electrically conductive, and so on material. And because of many of those properties, it's been tipped for many different applications. And actually, that's many of them are already being realized in real devices, like starting with composite materials. So starting with the sports goods. So we ourselves, we work with some watch factory with Richard Mille and McLaren to modify the plastics composites and to make them stronger, tougher, sometimes bring some additional properties like electrical conductivity, thermal conductivity, which was actually very important for when we created this the body panels for these cars. And then, but now, so these days it's really everywhere. So pretty much every single Ford car would have graphene under its bonnet for its thermal stability and noise cancelling properties. If you own one of those foldable mobile phones from Huawei, they would have the graphene inside. And these days, I would say the most promising application in electronics is in optoelectronics, where we're trying to create not electronic integrated circuits, but optoelectronically integrated circuits to make the signal processing even more efficient and much faster. And for that, you need materials where you can change the you can change the optical properties with electrical signal, and that's of course graphene. So if we because for some time there was a question whether we can produce enough graphene, and because a long time ago we started with mechanical exfoliation, just splitting graphite with Scotch tape. But these days there are many other ways how to produce graphene. So CVD methods, which is suitable for electronic applications, liquid phase exfoliation, some epitaxial methods, and all of them are being studied and reflected in MSE. But most important is that this creation of graphene gave rise to many other two-dimensional materials being studied and discovered. If you think that you can get graphene from your lead pencils, you can, if you take other pencils, you can of course produce other materials as well. And these days we're talking about a full family of two-dimensional crystals. And the real beauty of that is because we now come to work and we have those two-dimensional crystals available to us as thin films. And what we can do, we can stack them together in the way Mother Nature never intended it to be, and we create artificial materials for future applications. So basically, we can design a material which doesn't exist in nature. We can design it and create by stacking individual layers on top of each other, and we basically design new materials with the layer by layer. With the atomic precision and just layer by layer sequencing. And many new materials, many new devices have been created these ways. And basically this was the long introduction. And the reason I was giving it to you is to demonstrate for you that these days material science is extremely powerful. We can create new materials on demand with the properties on demand, and which would suit many different applications. Now the question is what is really the future of material science? So if we need to, so we already can create arbitrarily materials with arbitrary properties, so depending on our needs. But if you would really unleash your imagination, what kind of materials would you like to have in the future? And rather than answering this question for you, let me show you how other people answered this question. So those are the some sequence from one of the movies which was popular during my childhood. So it's a Terminator 2 movie, and if you haven't seen it, the plot is that, so the movie was made in 1991, and the plot is that a robot from 2029 sent back to 1991 to kill Sarah Connor and her son. And the only reason I'm showing it to you is to show how people working in that just how the directors of this movie thought about future materials. So they thought it would be made from liquid metal, which would be able to change in shape, to change color, be self-healing, and so on and so on and so on. So now we are in 2024, and unfortunately, unless we fix something in the next 5 years, we don't have a chance to fulfill the dreams of the Terminator 2 movie. So, in fact, this is not only about robotics; it's generally about our technologies, because in our technology, individual components are not functional. They're passive components, so they don't do anything by themselves. The functionality comes only when you assemble it into a large piece and to a system, and then you can gain the functionality. Now the question is, can we actually overcome this, and can we make the materials an active part, or individual components an active part of the system? Because then we'll have many more new opportunities. Basically, we would like to learn something from nature, where the functionality is spread across many levels, like individual proteins in your body, they are functional. Individual membranes in your cells, individual organs, of course, individual well, the whole body. So they all have their functions, and those proteins would function in a similar manner, even if you take them away from your body. So that's what we would like to do, and we would like to make materials an active part rather than a passive part of our technology. We would like to delegate some of the functions to the material level. So that's the concept of functional intelligent material. Functional means that we can program materials to perform some certain, to give some certain response to external stimuli. And intelligent, well, at least we want to have memory for in those materials. Just let me give you one example so you would see more clearly what do we want to achieve with this new type of materials. So as Dan already mentioned, membrane technologies become extremely important. So it's important for healthcare. It's very important for example, for desalination. So graphene being tipped for to be used in such technologies as well. So it's not being used in Singapore, but they use it in some plants in Australia, for example. But nevertheless, whichever membrane you use, you will still have to put a sensor downstream and measure the presence of the toxic species. You don't want to pass those some unwanted chemicals to your tap in your flat. And of course, the sensor would send a signal to a computer. Computer would analyze it, send a signal to actuator to open or close the valve. But now imagine if we could delegate this function to the membrane itself. If we could create certain parts of the membranes which would have the sensing and signaling parts inside, and then once they feel the presence of certain toxic species, they would change the conformation and close or open the pores in the membrane, and then you would be able to regulate the flow of water. And basically, in this case, the membrane, the smart membrane, would replace the sensor. It would play the role of the sensor, of the computer, of the actuator. And that's what we would like to do, and to extend this to many other applications as well. So it's not an easy task because those components really need to, we don't have ready recipes how to design such complex active materials. So we have some ideas that it has to be composite materials or heterostructures, and we need to make those components to interact and then interact through different channels. So we would create a so-called degenerate energy landscape. It's very similar. The idea is very similar to proteins in your bodies. You know, the proteins are basically the catalyst of many reactions in your body, and they can catalyze many different reactions. And the reason why they're so versatile is because they can fold and unfold into different conformations, and depending on their folding, they can do different functions. And that's exactly what, and they basically, physically or mathematically, you can say that they live in a very degenerate energy landscape with multiple competing configurations which correspond to slightly different energy levels. And if we try to learn how to create materials like that and how to navigate in this energy landscape, we can really create very active and very interesting materials. Now, I would say that, so as I said, it's not very easy to design it from scratch because we simply don't have the methodology for that. Our physical intuition or physical formalism doesn't really help here. So we're trying to rely a lot on machine learning here and the dynamic machine learning, but also on the material robotics as well, to try to we need a lot of data to be generated to pass to our AI. So just let me give you one example of how AI helps us to learn, not only to learn to learn the properties of materials. That's we can do already quite well. And what we're trying to do is to learn the behavior, the complex behavior of different materials. This is much harder, but this is much more interesting, task, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. So I would try just to give you one example. So I showed you an example of the protein folding before. Here is the example of the polymer folding. It's by far simpler problem because, well, so we use non-charged polymer, so the interaction there is between the atoms is quite simple. But even there, so it's the behavior when you try to stretch and unfold a polymer chain can be very complicated. Even if you start from the same in simulations from the same configurations, some of the configurations very easy to untangle. Some are sometimes easy, sometimes not. Some are always very difficult. So, and the question is, can AI help us to generate some sort of knowledge, a theorem, and a computer model which would be simple enough for us to understand? So basically, can it teach us physics, and it would have some predictive power. In a sense, what we're trying to do is we're trying to ask AI to do some physics for us and to learn physics instead of us. It's a challenging task. I'm not sure I want to do it because it means that AI will be replacing scientists. I don't think it can fully do it, but in some cases we can do this. Just let me give you one example. So you all know the equation for ideal gas. So if you observe the molecules in any volume, the most complete description is to state their coordinates and their velocities. But it's too many of them, so you would be swamped in those equations. In reality, what we do, we learned somehow, invented, so people before us invented this equation for the ideal gas. And it took us actually quite a lot of time to invent this and to understand the properties of all of those parameters. For example, temperature. So Celsius introduced it, 1740 probably, and the complete theory of temperature, it's Max Planck, it's 1920. So it's actually, it takes a lot of time and a lot of scientific minds to discover those laws and to understand why it works and how it works. And now what we're trying to do is we're trying to ask the AI to learn physics for us. So, and we show this AI the polymer chain and the dynamics of the polymer chain, and we ask it, can you write an equation for us, and can you tell us what are the important parameters? So I'm not going to give you to go much into details how the AI works, but it's really has a number of very interesting properties. It's differentiable, so you can actually you can understand what happens, see what happens with your system if you change one or another parameter a little bit, and actually it does work, and we understand why certain polymer chains behave this way, can be unfolded fast or unfolded slow, and it all down to this to those degenerate energy landscapes and the metastable states and so on. And that's exactly what we like, and that's exactly what we're trying to design. And surprisingly, as again Dan mentioned, we're not only doing things on the piece of paper or with the computer. We actually do real experiments with those polymer chains, and surprisingly, this AI approach describes it quite well, the experimental situation. So we're quite proud of it. Again, a big chunk of our work is about robotics when people, and I think this is really a future of the material science, and we'll have more and more experiments done by robots in the future to gain enough data for AI, or even not for AI, just to have enough data to analyze for ourselves. So some people, of course, think that's how the robots looks like. We do use them, but it's in reality. So this is from our collaborators who simply filmed our students to work to create some of the new materials and then just simulate it with the robots. In reality, actually, most of our robots are very, very dedicated. They just have few tasks only, because it's much easier to program, and it's much easier to manage. But then if you have those data, and if you understand, if you have AI helping you to understand how it works with the dynamic properties of materials, then you can start designing really new materials, those materials which have some dynamic properties, which are not static, but which have some unusual dynamic properties. So let me give you a few examples of that. I realize I'm running out of time. So this is one example of the material with the self-healing property. So what you see is the picture from the transmission microscope, electron transmission microscope. And so those little dots are individual atoms, and then we drilled a hole in it just in the middle. And then if you allow some time, and if you design this material in the correct way, you will see that so this hole will gradually disappear, and that's what we call the self-healing properties. You make a scratch and it's in the material, and then it just disappears. So it works actually even faster on the simulation. Another one is another example of the dynamic material is that we have those materials where we design special capsules for smart drug delivery. So we cannot take many drugs we have to take as a jab, like the COVID-19 vaccine, because they're simply not stable enough in your stomach, where it was very acidic environment and very low pH. So what we want to do is to protect this drug in a smart way. So it would, all this nanocapsule would open up only in just somewhere in the intestine and release this drug. And that's exactly what we managed to do. And we can program this capsule to scroll in or scroll out. Unfortunately, I don't have a movie for that. Those are tiny capsules, few nanometers across, but similar ideas can be made into materials, into macroscopic materials. So we can program their mechanical behavior depending on immediate environment. So as I said, the pH, the acidity can be one trigger, but we can use other triggers like electric field or light or temperature or humidity, and we can program their mechanical behavior. And so the last example of such unusual active material I wanted to give, I'm not even sure if it falls into this idea of material, but at least that's something what we do in MSE as well, and it's at the cross section between biotechnology and material science. So we have those bacteria which can emit electron during their life cycle. You basically give them sugar, and then inside there they have those reactions which help them to emit electrons. And then if you can collect those electrons, and you can turn it into a battery, or better way to say it's into a biological fuel cell. So you basically, now you don't need to to grow your material. So you don't need factory to create your material. You can grow it. Simply start with one bacteria, put some scaffolding made from either conductive polymer or graphene to collect this electron. You give them sugar, and then they give you current. And the more, so as those bacteria divide, the more bacteria you get more current out there. So, and that's something which is also in the realm of the modern material science, and it's actually it's being developing extremely active over the last few years, and that's something what we do now in the department as well. So I think I will stop here, and just to say that what we've been talking about today is that we can already now create materials on demand with very and program their properties in quite a broad range. But in the future, what we would like to do is to create active material which can change their properties by themselves and be dynamic and be responsive to environment. And of course, a lot of work here is not only for material science, but it's for mathematicians, for physicists, for chemists, and that's all, and for computer scientists, and that's all what we teach our students in MSc. So thank you so much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Novoselov, for that very informative sharing. It is very exciting to learn about the potential of these novel materials and AI tools for the future of material science. And with that, we have come to the end of today's session. So on behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to the speakers for taking time out of your busy schedules to attend today's session. We also thank our audience for your active participation today and hope that this session has been fruitful for you. We look forward to seeing you in the upcoming session, which will be on biomedical materials, held on next week, the 1st of March. Please take a moment to complete the short survey, which will appear right as you exit the webinar. And do scan the QR code on the left to join our MSc Discord, or the one on the right to find out more, and contact us if you have any further questions. Thank you very much, and see you soon in the next webinar.
Okay, thank you. Hope to see you in August as well, and join us. Bye.
Thank you.